And many thanks to the Economist for organizing such a stimulating program. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. This summit has been asking the question, what are Southeast Asia's economic prospects? The answer is that the region is doing well given the overall global economic picture. The prospects for growth in Southeast Asia are strong. This is reinforced by a recovery that has already started. The nations of Asia are addressing the challenges of the economic crisis cooperatively and with confidence that the region will recover quicker and emerge stronger than ever. Asia's response to this crisis has shown that our region is well positioned to accelerate its growing share of the global economy once the storm clouds of this crisis have abated. When the recovery comes, what form will it take? Although all Asian economies have felt the pain of the global recession, that pain has not been evenly distributed. There are at least three Asias to consider when examining the depth of the current recession and the path that nations in our region are taking to return their economies to full recovery. These three Asias are, first, the nations of China and India. Second, the trade-dependent economies such as Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Thailand, South Korea, and Malaysia. And third, the domestic consumption states, which includes the Philippines, among others. China and India will long remain regional and global outperformers. While they are growing at levels below their incredible pre-recession performances, that growth is still very respectable. Given that the global recession has led to a virtual collapse in international trade, the most trade-dependent states in our region have been the worst hit. They have endured months of recession that fortunately now appears to be easing. The consumption-driven states have been able to avoid recession altogether. These states, the Asian states that have been performing best and that are still enjoying positive growth, are those emerging markets where private consumption is a high proportion of GDP. Indonesia and Vietnam both have private consumption at 65%. The Philippines, 70%. Sri Lanka, 65%. Bangladesh, 75%. These states are outperforming the trade-dependent economies. Looking to 2010, the three Asias will see differing paces of recovery. The trade-dependent states will continue to underperform, while China and India, as well as the consumption-driven states, should be the region's outperformers. Also, those of us who took the bitter medicine of reform some years ago have done better. That is certainly the case with the Philippines. As much of the world sets its sights on the traditional global financial capitals, the world might be surprised to learn of the quiet successes to be found in other parts of the globe, in places such as the Philippines. My friends, as the final summit speaker, I want to leave you with an understanding of how your interest in emerging markets can be applied in the Philippines, a country that I am pleased to say has demonstrated the strength and resiliency of emerging market economies during this period of global economic crisis. In that regard, I cite the report of the UK Trade and Investment and the Economist Intelligence Unit that has tagged the Philippines as among the top 10 key emerging markets beyond the BRIC countries. Well before the global crisis, we were setting a new course, a new economic course for the Philippines. This course was at the core of our economic reform agenda. Our reforms generated 34 consecutive quarters of growth and the fastest growth in 30 years. They created 8 million jobs and allowed us to maintain the lowest inflation in a generation. More importantly, poverty went down, revenue went up, and the nation acquired the money to invest in human and physical infrastructure for the first time in a generation. We were rapidly heading toward the balanced budget. Without the global recession, we would be in balance right now. But from the temporary setback in our plans due to the global financial crisis, we are back on track to balance the budget by 2013. We are confident of our target because we have weathered the hardest part of the storm and we are poised for a rebound. The rating agencies have upgraded our country's credit rating in the middle of the crisis. This saves millions of dollars in interest, which we can pour into building up our nation. Moody's Executive Vice President said, the upgrade was prompted by the relatively high degree of resilience exhibited by both the country's financial system and external payments position in the face of the global financial and economic crisis. The peso, the Philippine peso, has also remained relatively strong and stable even amidst the global financial downturn. Goldman Sachs predicts that the peso will rise 4.7% in 6 months to the highest levels of 2008 as the growth of remittances from our overseas workers still defy expectations and because fiscal concerns are now recognized as overblown. This is a good indicator and reflection of the stability of our economy. The Philippines, however, is not alone. While many nations in Asia have been deeply affected by the global downturn, many have also been havens of stability and islands of calm during this period of tremendous volatility. Which industry sector will bounce back the strongest? In the Philippines, growth never left our outsourcing industry. It will now only gain in strength from 6,000 employees in 2001 to 600,000 soon, in large part due to our efforts to continually modernize our infrastructure. The high level of productivity and English language skills of our workforce and our ability to attract investment from some of the world's leading companies. Private construction has grown by 17% due to the surge in middle and low-income housing. Small retail businesses are gaining strength. Therefore, the services sector will recover quickly. Our mining sector is also showing strong growth of 16%. So how is consumer confidence of behavior evolving? Consumer confidence is coming back. But we are not relying just on the consumption pattern of our 90 million people to keep our momentum of 34 consecutive quarters of economic growth going. We are relying on a mix of economic stimulus, sound economic and monetary policies, and pro-business reforms to keep our economy steady. What is happening regarding foreign direct investment flows? Capital is returning to the region. The Philippines' resilient economy, improved credit ratings, and continued fiscal consolidation efforts have produced a country with an economy that should be in every emerging market investor's portfolio. With foreign direct investment posting an 86% increase in the first 7 months of this year, it is clear this message is getting across. Are foreign and local banks doing enough? Despite tight liquidity conditions in the global market, loan growth is particularly strong among the economies of emerging Asia. In Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, and Taiwan, loan growth has improved since the last quarter of 2008. New loans in China make up 50% of its GDP growth. The loans in China in the first half of this year have reportedly exceeded the total amount for 2008. In the Philippines, bank lending growth has remained healthy. We have one of the best central banks in the world. Its reforms have created the solid fundamentals that underpin our banking sector today. The fundamentals are reinforced by conservative banking practices. These values have significantly sheltered our country's finances. We give our central bank team our full trust to implement a sound monetary policy conducive to growth and one that will help us manage volatilities arising from the global economy. The monetary policy of the central bank has ensured sufficient liquidity in the market and bolstered confidence in the financial system. This contributed to the resilience of our economy throughout the global economic crisis. So how is the mindset at domestic and multinational firms currently